Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to sing a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. Aquadam.net. Give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, having to deal with the insurance company, not to mention the memories that are lost that you can never replace. To those who live in flood-prone and hurricane-prone areas, which is just around the corner, prepare now. Hurricane season is right around the corner. Visit Aquadam.net to see how they can help you prepare to avoid flood damage this season and every season thereafter. An Aquadam could be another tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. A cofferdam, using water to control water, that can protect your home, your business, your church, your neighborhood, like a dam, but without the beavers. Give Aquadam a call at 707-764-2119, 707-764-2119, or look them up online at aquadam.net. They're also on Facebook at Aquadam Inc., or call or email them today. They can help you out. Give them a call. Tell them Opperman Report sent you. Opperman Report, that's 10% off the price to anyone who mentions the Opperman Report.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I am your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Now, if you're in the need of some PI help, or you need a lawyer, you need some, you want to put a case together for something, you need to be advised of your rights in a situation, get a hold of me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Okay? Being blackmailed, stalked. Okay. Anyway. Hey. if you like the show, check out our Patreon. You go to Patreon, Opperman Report Patreon, right? And, right away you say, well, Ed, you're trying to charge us money for Patreon. You want to make money. You ran this for money, Ed Opperman, you greedy bum. But the thing is, there's a ton of free stuff on this Patreon. I want you to get used to going to Patreon and seeing what's new. And if you do become a member, then you get notified early, and you get this stuff before anybody else gets to see it. For instance, February 4th at 5:51 p.m., I posted the press release from the Epstein Victims Compensation Program to temporarily suspend compensation offers due to funding uncertainty, which means that the Epstein Trust had a fund where they were dispersing settlement money to victims, and they says, well, we're going to stop because after all, this is voluntary. We haven't under no order to do this, and we're running low on money, so we're going to stop paying these victims. I did an interview tonight with Stephen Hoffenberg about that. He's the one that tipped me off about this situation. And that's going to be going in the member section, for a fee. That'll be in one of the tiers where you have to pay. But the press release, hot off the presses, go check when this thing was released. It's like 5 o'clock. Then I also posted, again, at February 4th at 11:03 a.m., the Smartmatic USA Corporation versus Fox Corporation, Fox News Network, Lou Dobbs, who lost his gig tonight, by the way. Lou Dobbs got fired. Maria Bartiromono. Okay. You think I could say Italian names, yeah? From New York. Janine Pirro, who tried to have Bernie Kerik place a microphone on her yacht to catch her husband cheating. Nobody got caught. Nobody went to jail. It's all fine. Rudolph Giuliani and Sidney Powell. Then the other day, on February 3rd, I stumbled on this thing that was on, what's that thing called? Instagram. And one of my Instagram followers posted this bizarre picture of Jeffrey Epstein I had never seen before, where he's at Disneyland with Piglet. So I posted, I contacted him. I said, hey, man, where'd this picture come from? And he says, well, I'm going to try and track it down. It came from on Twitter. So I posted on Twitter. I says, hey, did anybody see this? And then I got an anonymous email with more images, and one of them has a very disturbing image of this little girl about 12 years old asleep on Epstein's lap on his plane. I traced all this back down to a Daily Mirror article. In fact, I should put the link there in this. It's all free, too. Everything I told you about so far is free. And I got like 144,000 hits on that on Twitter. That image, no one had seen it before. I posted it. Very disturbing pictures, and there's a story behind it. He took this trip down to his private jet. Took 10 people down there with their little kids down to Disney World. They had a private tour of Disney World where they didn't have to wait online. And then they had this little pink party, they call it, where they're drinking pink lemonade. Very, very disturbing stuff. And hard to believe that the parents weren't aware of this guy's interests to put their kids around this guy, because everyone I've talked to who has ever spoken to this guy, and that's all he talked about was his interest in little girls and how he thought it was normal, it was okay. So I don't know anybody who can say that they weren't aware of what this guy was into. Okay. And then Virginia Giuffre, who used to be with Virginia Roberts, the little girl that was plucked out of Mar-a-Lago at a ripe young age to be abused by these characters, said on Twitter, I know who that girl is, and the last time I mentioned her name, I was threatened. So you need to know people in this whole scenario here and all this stuff are still being threatened, still being paid off. Well, nothing's over in all this. I also posted on February 2nd Trump's answer to articles of impeachment. Okay? Then, on like the different tiers, for $3 you can get ad-free content and Stephen Hoffenberg, Jeffrey Epstein updates. Satin Pumps gives an inside look into a gripping mid-century murder. John Barber came on, remembered Larry King. Missing Jessica Foster, Polly Franks, Devil at My Door. Richard Gamel about the Kinkora Boys home in Ireland over there. And Grant Stern about the Build-A-World GoFundMe scam. The Pennsylvania grand jury report on systemic pedophilia in the Catholic Church. It's an old report from 2018. Dominion defamation lawsuits, a bunch of those up. Porkins Policy, a bunch of shows with Porkins Policy too. So a lot of content going up, and a lot going up shortly. I did an interview with AJ Weberman today. And today I did like 4 interviews today. Exhausted, man. You have no idea. I did an interview with AJ Weberman today. We talked about the whole Bernie Kerik, Lawrence Ray story. We talked about Giuliani. He gets into some real details about Giuliani's young life with his best friend, this pedophile priest. We talk about Joe Biden, and his behaviors. We talk about, of course, we had to talk about Bob Dylan. He can't stop himself with that. And then the other one, too, we talked about QAnon. He seems to think that, remember, that New York NYPD detective Jim Rothstein could be Q. I told him I didn't think so. And we had some frank discussions off the air. But I like AJ. If you don't know the backstory, I knew AJ when I was a little teenager. We used to get our hash from this guy named Fred Gotbetter. He used to supply me with the marijuana and hash, and Fred used to get it from AJ. And AJ used to get it from the hippie mafia, Richard Stratton. Later on tonight, coming up, is Ian Halperin, who wrote the book, I think it's called Controversy, and that's all about Epstein and Howard Stern and the royal family, all kind of good gossip there. And we talked about a lot of stuff. He's a good guy. I like him. Then Nisa's son is coming up tonight, too. There's a Forced Trajectory project and the art projects. They have an art exhibit going on in Las Vegas, too, to support. And we talk about different cases. But we talk a lot about that woman, when Obama was president. Remember the woman who made the wrong turn and was going through the Capitol entryway, and they shot her up? I'm going to be interviewing her sister, but Nisa's son spoke with her sister at length. And we talk about that quite a bit. Okay, so that's that. But, of course, you can always find my archives at Spreaker.com. You go to Spreaker.com. We have a chat room there every Friday night. And come in and chat. And we're going to be doing a thing, me and Hoffenberg, right? We're going to schedule this for a Friday night. And we're going to be taking phone calls, okay, for Hoffenberg. And he can answer questions. I can answer questions for you. Mostly on the Epstein topic, but we'll take other questions too as well. All right, let's see. What else is going on here? What else is going on? Okay, there's some good stuff. We were talking about Epstein, right? Now, did you notice the story in Florida this week where they talk about 2 FBI agents were shot down executing a search warrant on an apartment in Fort Lauderdale, they call it. And 2 FBI agents are shot down and killed. Did you know that's the same street that Jeffrey Epstein lives on? It's the same exact street, Borello. And the numbers aren't that far apart. I haven't MapQuested it and checked it out too, but it just seems very significant to me that they're not saying what this guy's name is. They're not saying exactly specifically what he's being charged with, the scope of the case, the investigation. None of that's being reported. Just that these 2 cops were shot down and killed, and a couple of them were shot down and lived. So very fascinating to me, at least. Oh, boy. Well, the name of tonight's show is No Gardens for Socialists. Okay? Now, oh boy, it was about 2 weeks ago I got back from driving Victoria to D.C. And that was a rough trip. I got to tell you, I was exhausted when I got back. Especially all those problems I had with the car rental place. And then getting home, especially after that 12-hour drive, I was just so overwhelmed with messages, phone messages, and emails. And I had this client that was being a real pain in the ass about a tiny little stupid little job, and this guy's bugging me at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I fired him. I got rid of him. I had to do like a triage. Okay, listen, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. This guy's in the way. Got to get rid of him. Listen, dude, I'll send you your money back. Leave me alone. I didn't want to talk about it. And then, there was one night too, man. I had to turn my phone off for a couple of days. It was so bad. But ultimately, by around Saturday afternoon, I was all nice and caught up and feeling okay, feeling pretty good. Because, you get that feeling when you're all caught up. And I had gotten a message on Facebook from a kid I went to high school with. And at first I didn't recognize the name, and I didn't recognize the face. But when I looked into it a little bit more, I because funny, people who contact me from high school and my childhood seem to use fake names. They don't use their real names on the internet. I wonder why that is. But this is a kid who, in high school, was kind of wound a bit tight. He was a small, skinny guy, almost a little effeminate, and he was okay. It was okay. I wasn't best friends with the guy or anything like that. We had no problems, no beef or anything like that. And he was always in these altercations with people, where he would be really emotional, And so he sends me this long message thanking me, And he goes, thank you so much that when all the kids in high school were bullying me, that you weren't bullying me too. And I stopped and I thought, I didn't have a bully. I had no interest in bullying anybody, and I didn't bully this kid. Of course not. He was okay. He's a nice guy. But, I did see a lot of bullying. And when I look back now, especially, I can see there was a lot of bullying of this kid, And maybe I should have stepped in, and intervened on his behalf. So even then, this guy's thanking me, I feel a little unpleasant with my behavior at that time. For a lot of things. But, so it was kind of like, a little raw emotion, this raw emotion dropping my kid off and coming back and having to fire this client and being so overwhelmed. But come Sunday, we have our little family dinner down here. I have some family that lives down here in Florida. We get together. We have our Sunday dinner. So Sunday comes along, and the food is the Sunday dinner isn't the greatest meal of my week. Trust me. Okay, it's an okay meal, but it takes a long time to make its way to the plate. So I try to eat and fill myself up during the day, and there was something I needed to do. I needed to go for some reason over to a 7-Eleven. I think the only thing I ever buy there is beer, but I had to go to the 7-Eleven. Now, when I first moved here to Florida, there's a 7-Eleven right around the corner. And the very first time I pull into the parking lot, a very tiny little parking lot, and on the East Coast, everything is, not designed very well. It's designed for horse and carriages, I guess, or whatever. Because, back in Vegas, 7-Eleven, you can drive in and out speeding through there, Big, giant parking lot, big pumps, everything's new, brand new. But here things are old and not designed too well. So when you drive in there, you got to back up very carefully, because it's a very tiny parking lot. And there's a guy standing off in the corner, okay, with a coat on. I got here like around this time of the year last year. And it was warm out. It was warm for me. But there's a guy with a coat, and the hood of the coat is over his head. He's a homeless man, and he stands. And so you see him the first time, I see him the second time. You see him different times of the day. For a period of time, I was getting my coffee over there every morning. And off there in the corner was this homeless man who stood in one position all day long. Now, I don't know, where he went to the bathroom, where he went to sleep or whatever. But all day, all waking hours, 12 hours a day, who knows, 14, 16 hours a day, he stood on his feet with this coat. So, and I noticed about a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, that he was speaking to some cops, And then I didn't see him after that. All right, so I had to go in there Sunday. And I said to the guy behind the counter, I says, hey, because you know what? I saw some flowers over by the spot where he used to stand. So right away I thought, well, this isn't a good sign. So when I talked to the guy behind the counter at 7-Eleven there, right? He's wearing no mask, And there's one of the reasons I stopped going in there. And I said, so what happened to the old guy over there, And he goes, oh, the homeless man? He goes, well, yeah, one day he couldn't stand anymore. And he went down, sat down, and he couldn't get back up. And he was just sitting there for days and days. And I guess he was accumulating his own human waste on himself, his urine, defecating on himself. And finally someone called an ambulance for him. They came out, and he says, They took him, and they tried so hard. He says there was like 5 nurses who took him, and they had to like cut his clothes off. And when they finally got the coat off, they said the odor was so bad that they all had to back away and take 5 steps back away from them, and go get like special masks and coverings for their face and stuff to go back in. The man passed away. Right? And so I heard that story, and it was kind of a bizarre coincidence, too, because as he was finishing up the story, some guy in a wheelchair is trying to get into the front doors. I got to run over and help him and let him in. And so, I couldn't listen to the rest of the story, but I just drove away. And you can't help but think, the first thing I think is, at one point this guy was a little baby. Was a little baby born, The mother was there, maybe the father was there too, but the mother had to be there because it just came out of the mother. And he was held as a little baby, and, and you hold that little baby, and maybe you don't even want a baby, but you think the potential of human life we have here in my little hands, Like I know when I first held my little baby for the first time, I thought she could take on the world. She had the potential to take on the world, and look what she's doing. She really is. Not every baby born has loving parents, or even one loving parent, or even one competent parent who's not a drug addict or an alcoholic and just incompetent and mental illness, their own scars and their own tragedies in their life that they're incapable of raising a child. Thank God my daughter, she had a lot of love, she had a lot of attention, and she's doing great. Whatever became of this man here, whatever the reason was that caused him to end up this way, just think what a horrific way to end up in life. And I couldn't help but think, look, let's face it. I could have saved that man's life. The first day I set eyes on him, I could have said, here's a human being, a fellow human being, just as equal to me in every possible way. We breathe the same air. We eat the same food. Same blood going through our veins. And I see a man in distress, and there's something in me that says, nah, I'm going to leave him. He's on his own. I got my own problems, and I got this one arm, and my arm is injured, and I'm down here, I got to deal with my own father and stuff like that. I have a nice big apartment with a shower and a kitchen and an extra room and room on the couch. I remember when my daughter was little, and we saw some homeless person or something, whatever, or we had a friend that was homeless. And she says, look, Dad, we can put him right here. There's room right here on this chair right here. He could live here. She was real little, like 3 or 4 years old. And I said, no, you don't understand. It doesn't work that way. You just can't take people in off the street. Although in my life, I've done it many times. I've taken it when I was a single man. I took in many people off the street. So, in some way on the face of the earth, I had the ability to save a human life, and I chose not to. Because the odor would have been uncomfortable, because it would have been a little cramped in my home. Because maybe the guy had a mental illness that's impossible to deal with. He would have interfered with my ambitions and my goals and my dreams in life. But certainly my dating life, right? So I weighed out all that, in an instant and said, nope, I'm walking past this person. Right? Now, I don't judge anybody else who walks by someone and makes that same exact decision, because we live in a society that's able to build big bombs and big buildings and battleships and nuclear submarines and stuff like that. So we have the capability to save this guy's life. But it's just not that important to us. And you look in the Good Samaritan, the story, I've told the story, the Good Samaritan, where the Levite was walking, from one town to another. He got robbers beat him. They beat him down the street. He's all bloody and beaten up. Who knows? Out there for a couple of days. Probably had maggots on him. Out there in the desert, in the heat. Nobody coming by for a couple of days. Got open wounds. The odor. He can't get up to go to the bathroom, wipe himself off. Same situation. But the Samaritan came by, and the Samaritan and the Levites weren't even, these were enemies. Cultural enemies. They did not like each other. But still, he stopped. He took the man, cleaned him up, got him a room, bought him medicine, and checked out him back on his way back on the trip. If we really loved our brother as we love ourselves, this is what we would be doing. We wouldn't be able to go to sleep at night knowing that there was someone. Right now, we all know someone out there sleeping on the street. But somehow we do, you know. And maybe we can't sacrifice everything in our own life to take on the world's problems with, one person at a time. But we can fight to change the system that these people don't fall through the cracks, okay? Even with the kid that was being bullied. Maybe I could have went to the school or his parents or whatever, who knows? You don't have to solve everything yourself, but sometimes, So, I drove away from that situation. And for some reason, it made me think of the Staten Island Mall back in 2000 when I opened up my little beeper company in the Staten Island Mall. And, by the way, when I first opened up that company, I was out on bail. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I was out on bail. It was, No, I wasn't out on bail. I was on probation. I was on probation for my marijuana case. Okay, and so even when I had to go fill out the application to get the credit card processing machine, I had to run it by my probation officer. And I started the business on a couple of credit cards, and I sold I had one of those life cycle exercise bikes. I sold that, and a couple of credit cards, and that's how I started this business. I built this kiosk, and I went out and made the contracts and stuff like that. And I had to work by myself 10 hours a day from open to close at the Staten Island Mall. 7 days a week. But I couldn't afford any employees, And I just need to make a few bucks a day just to pay the rent and keep myself afloat and stay in there and stay alive. And I knew if there's another beaver company out there that's making money, I can make money too. There's no difference. We're all human. We're all equal. So I'm in there, and first couple of days, this little old man comes shuffling by to me, and he's wearing a white leisure suit. He's about 5 feet tall, maybe 4'11", 5 feet tall, 4'11", and his hair is really thin. He's about 75, 85 years old. Okay, never quite found out how old he was, but he looked old. He looked older than Methuselah. Okay, and his nails were a little dirty and a little big, and his teeth were brown from coffee and cigarettes and cigars and stuff like that, But he was doing the best he could, and he comes along pushing this little shopping cart. Now, not the kind of shopping cart that you go shopping in the grocery store with that I'm always afraid the kids are going to fall out of. The kind of shopping cart that, it folds up like your mom had when you were a kid, and you put the grocery bags in there, and then she wheels it home from the supermarket to the house, and then it folds back up, and you pull it up the stairs. One of those. That was his little thing that he would walk around in. And I come to find out that what his deal was is he would go to all the merchants in the store who couldn't leave their store or couldn't leave their kiosk or their booth or their cart, and he would say, would you want me to go get you a cup of coffee or get you a sandwich and go run an errand for you, and I'll give him a little tip, So I see this guy, and right away, at Ed Opperman's Sucker of the Year. He says, okay, man, hey, you want to make some money? I'll help you out, man. Sure. And every day he comes over, he gets me a cup of coffee, maybe I send him for a sandwich and stuff like that, whatever. And he would want to shake hands, and touch me and stuff like that. And I didn't want to touch his hands because, because sometimes you'd see him pick his nose, and stuff like that. And so, years go by, every day me and Izzy, give him $5, $10 a day, he's making some money, right? So then when I stopped working in the booth and I was working out of an office, we had more stores and stuff like that, and I wasn't there all the time. Or maybe I was only there like one shift and I had employees cover the rest of the shifts. I would tell the employees, listen, if I'm not going to be here and Izzy comes by, you have to get something from Izzy. You have to get something from Izzy. Take it out of the drawer. I don't care, but make sure, because the guy's going to make some money here every day. He's 90 years old. He's getting older as the story goes on. He's 104 years old, this guy. Hey, so as the time goes on and on and on and on and on, Years go by. I had that business a long time. He starts complaining to me that I'm his only customer because the other merchants don't want him coming into the store because he was an angry guy. This guy, Ed, I'm here. Sometimes I'd have a customer and I'd have to yell at him. You know me, I'm no pushover, man. Izzy, give me a break and wait. So it got to the point I was his only customer, right? And even though the employees at the booth said, we can't deal with Izzy anymore. We can't do it. Then there was one day, I was working at the mall and I happened to notice that Izzy's not there that day. And as a matter of fact, I didn't even notice myself. There was a coffee place called R.J. Peters where they made great fancy sandwiches and lunches and stuff like that and a good cup of coffee. And they called me up and it says, "Hey Ed, where's Izzy today?" Like I'm in charge of Izzy. Okay. And I said, you're right. I haven't seen him. And I called around to a couple of different places. I said, "Hey, have you seen Izzy today?" No one's seen Izzy. I even called down to the mall management. "Hey, you guys see Izzy today?" No one's seen Izzy. So now you're thinking, oh man, something's wrong. The guy's here every single day. So he used to come from the nursing home and he would take a cab. He'd take Staten Island car service. So I said, let me call them. Let me call the dispatcher and ask them. If they know what's going on. What is he? So I call up. Village Cars, what do you want? Staten Island Cars. Your location. I said, oh, hey, how are you? Hey, you guys drive Izzy every month. Yeah, we drive Izzy. What's wrong? I said, well, did you pick him up today? And he goes, no, we didn't pick him up today. No, you're right. What's going on? You know what's going on? And I says, no. And then he says, oh, you know what it is? It's because it was a Jewish holiday. I forget which one it was, Rosh Hashanah, whatever. I don't even remember. But it was a Jew. And he goes, oh, that's why. Oh, I took the day off. So the next day, he comes shuffling over, pushing his little cart to me, and he's got this little smile on his face. He goes, oh, you're checking up on me, huh? All right, look at that. Yeah, you're worried about me, huh? Yeah, you love me, don't you? He didn't say you love me, but he was so pleased to know that someone out there in the world was checking up on him and seeing if he was okay and taking care of him and making sure that, he was all right. So, but as things deteriorated further on, the store R.J. Peters came to me and they says, hey, Ed, no more Izzy. He can't come into the store anymore. And there was a couple of major incidents. And for a while there, I was drinking a latte, mocha latte, with the chocolate in there, in the foam. And I was digging that. Put on a lot of weight, too, drinking it. But I was drinking espresso, too. Sometimes I would drink espresso, and sometimes I'd drink the mocha latte. And I said to him, hey, get me a mocha latte, but black, right? Because, I was on the phone or whatever. I was busy. So he goes and he pushes his cart into the R.J. Peters store, and he goes right to the head of the line. Okay, this is for Ed. This is for Ed. I got an order, Ed. And he wants a black mocha latte. And they tell him, no, Izzy, mocha latte means there's steamed milk in there. You can't have it. But this is the way Ed wants it. You got to get it the way. Whoa. So he caused a big scene in there, and he was pushing his cart into people. And they told me, hey, man, he's banned from the store. We can't have this anymore. So you think, if I was really thinking at the time, you think I'd say to Izzy, because he had no other customers behind me, and he's only making $10-15 for me. Now I had to give him a little extra. Like I has to pay for the cab to get him over there to walk around that mall all day. But I guess he had nothing else to do. But you think if I was thinking, I would say to him, hey, Izzy, man, just stay home. I'll send you a check every month. You need some cash, man. I'll send you $200 a month, man, or $300. I was spending so much money back in those days. I would take $600 cash out of the register every day and go to the bar and hang out. Okay, I could have took care of this guy. What was I thinking? I just wasn't thinking. Is my problem. Just wasn't thinking at all. And I'll tell you something else. When I left and I moved away, I didn't even say goodbye to Izzy, and I just left him there. So, let's see how we're doing on time. I'm enjoying telling the story. Oh, good time. Okay, amen, brother. Okay, let's take a little commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Deeply researched and mixed with the supernatural, good versus evil makes these thrillers hard to put down. Available at lulu.com in paperback or ebook.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. Yeah, so a little more to the Izzy story there. The Staten Island Advance had written a story about Izzy with a picture of him, and I tried to find it tonight, and I Googled, as much as I could, because I wanted to, tell people what his last name was and stuff like that, But he did have this cool article written about him, about Izzy at the Staten Island Mall. And I remember one time he told me, too, that I asked him, well, what'd you do for a living when you were working? He says, well, I was a haberdasher. I sold men's ties and handkerchiefs. That's how I made my living. He used to tell me that all the time. So God bless you, Izzy, wherever you are. So that's my Sunday, right? The homeless guy's dead. I'm thinking about Izzy. And I head home. We got this raw emotions going on with this kid, with the bullying thing, with the Vic dropping off in D.C. Got to go to family dinner now. Sunday family dinner. And I go down there. And we got to be careful at family dinner because a member of my family has this boyfriend. He's my age, and he's a right-wing guy. And we can't watch the debates because, Mike's going to get all upset. We can't watch the election coverage because, Mike, And when we first met him, too, he pretended he wasn't a right-wing Trump guy. But we figured out he was, especially Vic. Vic is great at this kind of stuff. Sizing people up and figuring them out. And then she puts it in my ear. So we're talking about this, we're talking about that. And something came up, and my sister says, well, we can't talk about that because they're going to bring up Biden and everything. And I says, Biden? I says, I don't endorse Biden. I don't support Biden. What are you out of your mind? Biden's a pervert. Biden's he's a crook. It comes about crooked family, man, with all of this stuff he's doing. Kissing his own granddaughter, feeling up these kids on camera. Crazy stuff. That dysfunctional family of Biden. I'm no Biden supporter. And she said, well, then who do you support? Bernie? I said, well, even Bernie. I says, I explained my position on Bernie. That, I only supported Bernie because I saw that the people who were following Bernie and excited about Bernie were intelligent people. They weren't afraid of the word socialist or socialism. And we could take these people and we can organize them. We could rise them up. And this is what we've done. Look, we got our people right now running the Nina Turner campaign. We got our people right now. They elected Cory Bush. So I said, so I'm not a capitalist. I says, both Biden and Trump, they're both capitalists. I said, I'm not a capitalist. I'm a socialist. And I says, and everyone at this table would benefit under socialism. Except for Mike. This dude was a day trader, okay? So, he's leeching off the system. He doesn't produce anything. He doesn't contribute anything. He just takes some, a cut of the action of other people's labor. So, Mike decides that he wants to educate me and he wants to enlighten me. And he goes, Ed, have you ever talked to someone who comes from an Eastern Europe socialist country? And right away, I said, dude, are you kidding me? Of course, I'm from New York. Of course I have. I've spoken to Alan Woods, who advised the Nicaraguan government and the Venezuelan government on their economic socialist policies. Of course I have. Let me tell you, I had a friend. I forget what country he says he came from. I had a friend who comes from Eastern Europe, and he had a garden. So I stop him right there. I said, see that? Listen, I'm talking about nationalizing the oil industry. $200 billion a quarter in raw profits that you can't screw up. Okay, we got a machine right now making $200 billion a quarter. That's pumping a national resource, a natural resource from under your feet and my feet, but they get to keep the money. When 85% of the countries on this planet have a nationalized oil industry, but except for the most criminal, corrupt countries like Russia, I think China and the United States. And people are so brainwashed, and they are just so triggered, that when you're trying to tell them, you would benefit if we nationalized the oil industry. You would personally benefit if we nationalized. We had a public bank. We had a national state bank. That all the profits from the banking industry went back into the economy instead of to a few shareholders. A handful of people. You would benefit. And what's the response to that? Ed, under socialism, the government will come and tell you what to plant in your garden. Okay? Meanwhile, the guy lives in an apartment now. He doesn't have a garden now. He doesn't have a garden. I don't have a garden. You don't have a garden. We don't have gardens now. But by nationalizing the oil industry, now I'll never get a garden. Okay? But just think, I'll buy you a freaking garden. Look. The solutions to all these things are so simple. I can't help one person at a time. I can't go out there and save every homeless guy I see. I can't save every Izzy, shop and support every Izzy out there either of what I'm doing, okay? But I can wake some people up, man. And I know I've waken up a lot of people. Waking up, alarm bell ringing. And a lot of people get what I'm saying, man. So many are. I was talking to this guy. They said Michael Bennett, okay, about the two gospels, and about how the right wing has captured the gospel of Jesus Christ and turned it into some greed-driven, selfish. Don't help the poor. Don't. They make all their focus on abortion. Anti-abortion, pro-birth. But then when that baby's born, we're not going to feed it. We're not going to educate it. We're not going to do anything for that family. When the number one reason for abortion is economic factors, they can't afford to raise a child, So if you really cared about saving that life from an abortion, you would support free medical care, free support for the families, a living wage for people. But no. If we did that, we could not have gardens. They would take away our gardens. I remember I heard this other guy telling a story too about Cuba, that his neighbors smelled him cooking goat, and they turned him into the army. The army came and arrested him. They could smell the meat cooking. Oh God, people are just nuts. Now, anyway, that's my story. No gardens for socialists. There is. Guys, you're going to thank me for this. If you're still awake, if you're still listening, you're going to thank me for this. I want you to go to Axios, right? Axios.com, Axios.com, Axios.com. There is an article, a series of articles by Jonathan Swan and Zachary Basu. Now, these are two White House reporters, pool reporters. They're there every single day covering the White House. They're embedded in there. And they tell this story. It's a series of articles called Off the Rails, and it's about the Trump White House. The last article is a bonus article, Inside the Craziest Meeting of the Trump Presidency. This is prior to January 6th, and it's a meeting of Sidney Powell, Michael Flynn. Who's this guy? What's this guy's name? The guy from Overstock.com. What's his name? Let me find it. I got to pull it up here. Patrick Byrne, who I heckle all the time on Twitter. And they're in there to advise the president about how the election was stolen, stop the steal, how we could turn it off by declaring martial law, and giving top security clearances to Sidney Powell, so she can go and investigate it. She has that binder with those 270-page binder of evidence that I read the whole damn thing, man. There's nothing in there. Okay, I read that whole damn thing, man. And by the way, I watched the whole 3-hour Mike Lindell video today, too, man, which is the funniest thing in the world. All right? He keeps saying, we have 100% proof. 100% proof. He must have said 100% 100 times. Okay? It's 100% proof. But it's the funniest thing in the world. As a matter of fact, I actually, in the middle of it, because it was so long, I switched over to the Saturday Night Live skit of Mike Lindell. But I went back because the real Mike Lindell is funnier than that. But you got to read this thing where this all hell breaks loose at the White House with this meeting with Sidney Powell and Michael Flynn, where they're cursing each other out. I'm going to do a whole show about it. I was laughing out loud. I was waiting for some Chinese food to come. I was laughing out loud about this story. Funniest thing in the world. At one point, Patrick Byrne starts saying, I know how this stuff works. I was part of an FBI sting to bribe the Clintons $18 million. And the Trump lawyers, like Cipollone, and they say, why would you even say that? Why are you even talking about that? At one point, one of Trump's advisors says, you don't even know who I am. He says, I know who you are. You're Patrick Cipollone. He says, no, I'm not. They're screaming at each other. They're screaming over the phone. They had conference calls. At one point, Giuliani's on the conference call. Sidney Powell is saying he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's fighting back, and he says, I'm coming over there. So then Trump hangs up on everybody else that was on the conference call. Then there's a whole thing about how they go back to the White House residence, and they're in the living room at the White House residence. Okay, and they're sitting there, and that guy Patrick Byrne is eating these pigs in a blanket and little meatballs and stuff like that. The wait staff brought up. It's the funniest freaking article in the world. And then if you go on from there, I'm going to put all this together for you and do a whole show on it because it's hysterical. This guy Patrick Byrne got hooked up with that woman, that Russian woman, what was her name? Maria Butina. Remember she got arrested for she was doing all that money laundering and weird stuff with the NRA, and she got arrested for espionage, and you know. Anyway, he was dating her, this crazy guy, Patrick Byrne. And then with the whole story about the $18 million undercover thing with the Clintons, that's all in there too. So I'm not even trying to get Patrick Byrne on the show. I probably could. You know, if I just stop heckling him for a few days, he won't remember me. But trust me on this, it's the funniest story you've seen in years. Go in there, check it out. Cat read it. Yeah, it's the funniest thing in the world. Okay, it really is funny. You'll be laughing a lot. And it just goes to show you how crazy things were. And you can kind of tell who the sources were for that thing. You can tell, I forget the guy's name, but Hirschman or something like that, which is a businessman who was friends with Trump, who semi-retired but came to the White House to help Trump and advise him. Mark Meadows is definitely one of the sources. Bill Barr is absolutely one of the sources for this story. And the only people that aren't sources for the story are the nuts, Giuliani and Sidney Powell and all these crazy people. And this Mike Lindell is out of his freaking mind. If you haven't seen this video, it's been pulled down all over the place. You got to go to Twitch and find a Twitcher, you know, who did a live stream of it, you know, and you got to find one where they keep their mouth shut and they're not talking about it because they're making comments and laughing out loud and making stupid comments. I found one. In fact, if you need the link, contact me. I'll send it to you because it's worth the laugh. The guy who's hosting the Twitch thing is smoking a vape, you know, he's got the big long beard, got a hat on. And at one point he says, I'm going to pause the thing because I have to go pee. And he pauses it for like 6 minutes and he goes to pee, comes back. Another point, his mother or his wife or whatever, his girlfriend, who knows, chimes in and he says, oh, I'm just doing a little political stream, you know. And then he starts agreeing with everything. That's unconstitutional. That's directly that's directly against the Constitution. You know, it has no idea what he's talking about. Then he says, anybody who doesn't believe this is dumb. I tell you, man, we lived in this, man, if history is going to look back at this Trump administration as the wildest, funniest time that we've had in history, man. It's all, I got to tell you, man, I think a lot's going to come out. We see more and more. They just have new video that Roger Stone was with the Proud Boys that morning of January 6th. That just came out too. So more and more and more stuff is coming out every day. And this was from the top. This came from the top, man. That was planned from the top, from Trump himself, to attack the Capitol. And it's not that hard to do. Okay, let's see how we're doing on time, because I'm exhausted. You have no idea. I'm playing next my show with Ian Halperin. It's called Controversies. It's a good show. And then after that, I'm playing Anissa's Son about the art exhibit there in Las Vegas to support the Forced Trajectory Project, which is an organization that supports families of people that are victims of police violence and brutality and homicide. Guys, thank you so much. Be sure and check out my Patreon. I told you a lot of stuff that was in Patreon today. And, you know, there's a yearly option there, too. You can go in there and save money and sign up for a year. And it's a huge help to me, a huge support right now is the Patreon. I got Shane, who's in the chat room right now. He's going to be going through all the stuff that's in the member section and loading that up, too, into the Patreon. So don't go to member section anymore. Go to Patreon. It's cheaper. It's much easier to navigate. It's much easier to upload and to maintain. With the member section, I had to go to someone and say, hey, put this document up there. With this, I can go right in there, boom, boom, boom. I get a document. I can put it in there 5 minutes later, or some images or whatever. Let me see. Vic just sent me something. Let me see what it is. Might be important. She might need me to report it to you. Vic's doing so good over there, man. A statement from the Lincoln Project. 20 days under attack from the Trump administration and propaganda allowance. Payment of $250. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. There's some kind of an extortion thing against the Lincoln Project. Jennifer Horn, in written communication, requested from the Lincoln Project an immediate signing bonus payment of $250,000 on a $40,000 per month consulting contract. This followed a Christmas Eve communication from Jennifer where she demanded a board seat on the Lincoln Project, a television show, a podcast hosting assignment, and a staff to manage these endeavors. She also stated her goal was to establish immediate long-term financial security. These demands were unanimously rejected by the management committee of that board. We immediately accepted Jennifer Horn's resignation from the Lincoln Project. We wish her the best. Now, so I guess it was like an extortion thing that went on there. Whoa. Well, Lincoln Project, what are a bunch of capitalists anyway? Let them fight amongst themselves. All right, guys, good night. Thank you so much. Tune in. Oh, my God. All right, and I really enjoyed doing this live show, guys. I really appreciate it, you know. And I've been getting so much great feedback lately, too. And one more thing out there to the YouTubers, right? YouTubers keep saying, oh, man, Ed, we missed you so much. You know, we missed your show. You know, it's been 2 months. Where you been? I have not missed a single broadcast, not even with a road trip. Not one. I have not missed a broadcast. Okay, this week I'm up 5 nights a week, man. Okay? So the thing is YouTube wasn't letting me upload to YouTube. You got to go to Spreaker.com, okay, and sign up there, follow the show. There's a link on every YouTube video for the Spreaker channel. You can click right on it. And you go there and sign up for free. Then you get a notification when new content goes up. It's simple. It's easy. It's a click. Just like you click on YouTube. Same thing. Then you get an email when new content goes up. Same thing. But better because it's better quality audio. The other thing you want to do is go to the Patreon and just hang out at the Patreon, man. Check it every day, man. There's new stuff going up there with documents, pictures, images, stuff people flipping out over those Epstein images. 140,000 people liked the images. Hey, good night.